Good evening. Welcome in to another edition of State of the Tigers here on PowerMizzou.com. Appreciate everybody who has survived a poor Saturday here in our world and made it to Monday night and joined us half an hour early for a good 45 minutes of speculation about where Eli Drinkwitz is going to coach next year. That's just what we're going to do every Monday night from here until we know the answer. State of the Tigers brought to you every single week by James Carlton, State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, Missouri. If you live in Kansas, Illinois, or the fine state of Missouri, get in touch with James at carltoninsurance.net by phone at 314-961-4800. Ask him how much money he can save you. He's going to give you an answer, and you're going to like that answer, and James will be your insurance agent like he is mine. I'm Gabe DeArmond, Cody Goodwin, alongside for the beginning of the show, right there. It's what we call a dramatic reveal here on YouTube. So let's just start. I know what I said at the beginning. We're not going to break down where Eli Drinkwitz is coaching every Monday for the next 6 weeks.
We have the whole offseason to do that, right?
I'm sure. I haven't looked at the chat yet, but I'm sure there will be questions about it. I'm sure we'll end up talking about it every single week. But I want to start here. Like I kind of wrote it this morning. I know that officially the playoffs not off the table and all of that. It sure kind of feels like it is, though. Like, convince me I'm wrong, because I think outside of maybe the Missouri fan base, I don't think anybody's talking about that with this team at this point.
No, and it makes sense, right? Like they're 6-2, 2-2. They haven't mathematically been eliminated from Atlanta, but let's be realistic here, right? Like there's two undefeated teams. Missouri plays one of them in 2 weeks, and Texas A&M, Alabama's the other one. I'm not going to say that you go ahead and pencil them into Atlanta for the SEC championship game, but it's going to take a lot, I think, to knock those two guys off the perch. Is it possible? Yes. When it comes to Missouri, I think it's more, hey, like, can you get to the playoff? I again, not an impossible task, but the mountain is a lot steeper to climb. I think that one of the more interesting things that I took away from the rewatch was that ESPN has their playoff predictor, and the winner of the Missouri Vanderbilt game, at least as of right now, had a better than 50% chance of making the playoff. The loser now has less than, I think, 15% chance of making the playoff. And when you look at Missouri's remaining schedule, Texas A&M at home, happy you have that one at home, right? We'll discuss a little bit more about A&M probably next week, but we'll probably touch on them a little bit tonight. Mississippi State at home, good, you have that one at home. Have to go to Oklahoma, you have to go to Norman and play the Sooners. That's another, they're kind of one of those teams similar to Missouri where they're kind of in that like middle upper tier of the SEC, and you just, week to week, you're not exactly sure what team you're going to get. And then you wrap up at Arkansas. By then, if not after this weekend, I imagine by then most of that team will probably mail it in. So it's, you got to win out. And at this point for Missouri, you're going to need a little bit of help, because I'm not sure that the 10-2 that they would have if they were to win out is going to be enough if there are enough other 10-2 SEC teams, and potentially maybe a Big Ten team that's 10-2 as well. So there's just a lot of factors working against Mizzou. Again, not impossible, but a very steep mountain to climb right now.
Yeah, spots are kind of dwindling, and I kind of agree with what Tircell had said, which is, look, it's mathematically possible, but like it feels dumb to talk about it with this team right now. They go beat A&M in 2 weeks. I'll talk about it again. But like this team, I hate to say that it seems like the critics were kind of right. They beat 5 bad teams, and then they started playing good teams, and they've been close. Like, I'm not saying Missouri's not good.
I want to push against.
But this offense has run up against good teams and hasn't gotten the job done.
I'll agree to that, but I think where I would push back on is that a lot of what Missouri has cost itself in both the Alabama and Vanderbilt games is a lack of execution. It's not like I think it would be totally different if like they literally went toe to toe with these teams and just got beat. And I think you could probably make that case more for Alabama than Vanderbilt, but you look at almost every other stat minus the scoreboard, and Missouri pretty well outplayed Vanderbilt. Like the defense brought another fantastic performance. The offense, I thought, did enough to position themselves, but silly penalties here and there, lack of execution on, those 2 red zone trips in the third quarter. Like there was just a few too many hiccups for them to ultimately overcome. And I don't know that I would give Vanderbilt the credit for that as much as I would blame Missouri for not finishing the job. I don't know. This sounds weird because Vanderbilt did win the game. They went down and scored the points and did the thing. But I think Missouri lost that one more so than Vanderbilt won it.
Well, and I say this all the time. Sometimes I think more games are lost than won. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let your opponent lose the game. And trust me, I am not a guy that says this because I hate it when it happens. But I've been talked to a good friend of mine who covered Vanderbilt, and he actually said it first after the game. It didn't really feel like the better team won that game, but whatever, they won the game. And so at some point, it kind of becomes who you are, right? Missouri dominated Kansas and trailed with 10 minutes to go. Missouri dominated South Carolina and trailed in the fourth quarter. Missouri didn't dominate Alabama, but played even with Alabama, maybe even better, and got beat. Missouri outplayed Vanderbilt and got... So, like Scott says, this is now a trend. How does that happen that frequent? If it happens once, I get it, but this has happened to this team a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to answer for what you put on tape, and it's similar. It's kind of, you remember us talking about the Auburn game, about how I think it was after the Alabama game, Drink constantly said we need to look for that winning play, and right. They didn't find it against Alabama. They found it in enough time against Auburn, and they were not able to find it against Vanderbilt. And so it's not, I don't know that they're. It's weird. You have to, at some point, the tape says that you are who you say you are. And so far, this Missouri team, the playoff teams win, a playoff team would have won on Saturday. I'm not sure, I know it's still realistically possible, and take it game by game. We'll see what November brings. But based on that result and based on what we've seen, to your point about trailing Kansas, trailing South Carolina, not finding the winning plays against Alabama and Vanderbilt, I don't know that this Missouri team is a playoff team, because a playoff team, look, losing to Alabama, that's one thing. Not figuring out how to get it done when you literally dominate Vanderbilt in a lot of aspects of that game. Dominate might be a strong word, but you handily beat Vanderbilt in a lot of different aspects in that game, and you still can't get over the hump and finish the job. Playoff teams get over the hump and finish a job in a game like that. And so do we need to readjust expectations? You and I have discussed this multiple times. Maybe it is time to readjust expectations. And if they prove us wrong in November, they prove us wrong, and we'll hop on that train when we get there. But playoff teams win that game on Saturday. And so, Mizzou did not win. So, hey.
And the irony is the only one they've won in the last 3 weeks was the only one I felt like they got outplayed. Auburn was better than Missouri was, and Auburn lost that game, I thought. I mean, Auburn dropped 3 passes, including a touchdown, and missed 3 field goals.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from there. I don't know that I would go as far as to say Auburn outplayed Missouri in that game. I think there were aspects of that game where Auburn outplayed them, but there were also aspects of that game where Missouri outplayed Auburn, and they just weren't able to cash in for whatever reason. And then when the time came in the second overtime, they were able to get it done. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. They've played 3 consecutive C games in a row, I think you could argue. Yeah. And a C game is not good enough to beat Alabama, even when you force them into a C game. A C game was good enough to beat an Auburn team that finally got their first SEC win this past weekend. And then a C game was not good enough to beat Vanderbilt. And some people might argue that it was more of a D- game because of how the offense looked for the first quarter and a half of that game. But yeah, welcome to life in the SEC, but also welcome to life in the playoff era. If you're truly a playoff team, a C+ B- game is enough to get over the hump on the road against another team that I think is good, maybe not great, but a team that I think is at least good. We'll call Vanderbilt that.
It's interesting, and you talking about the C game 3 weeks in a row just reminded me. And obviously, look, I know you were not doing these shows with me at the beginning of last year, but Missouri had about 5 straight weeks where they were squeaking by Vanderbilt and not dominating. Kind of beat Boston College by a little, but didn't kill them. And, just were playing okay. And I remember about 5 weeks into last season saying, if you do this every week, it's no longer your C game. It's who you are. So Missouri's played 3 good teams this year, and they've played 3 C games. Maybe that's just kind of who they are against good competition.
It could be. And I mean, you could make the case that it was a B game against Kansas and it was good enough to win by 2 scores. It was maybe more of a B- game against South Carolina and still were able to win by 2 scores. So, are they capable of playing better than they have the last 3 weeks? Yes. But to your point, like at some point, you are what the tape says you are. And that the tape says that this team is probably going to be on the outside looking in when the playoff field gets announced in a month and a half.
So as we sit here today, what do you think the most likely final record for this team is?
8-4, probably most likely.
That's where I'm at.
Because and look, they're going to get A&M at home. They seem to play better at home, so I'll give them that.
Yeah,
but that A&M team looks like a wagon, man.
Look, you're not beating A&M scoring 17 points.
Absolutely not. And one of the things that we'll maybe get into when we truly start to break down the A&M game is before that LSU game, that's an A&M team that really kind of played both up and down to their competition. Like it was 16-10 against Auburn and then 45-42 against Arkansas, right? And they needed a last minute play to beat Notre Dame. But then they went on the road, and I think that was more matchup based than anything. And they thumped an LSU team that was maybe a little overhyped coming into the season. But yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good A&M team. Like that is not, even though that game's at Faurot Field, that is not going to be an easy game. And then you still have to go to Oklahoma, and who knows which team on either side is going to show up in that game. So that one could be winnable. That one could also be a 2-possession loss. Like we don't know just because of the up and down nature of those teams.
So I do want to bring up a point here that I think is worth bringing up because I understand everybody's frustrated about Saturday, and you should be frustrated about Saturday, but how many teams in the country, if you had told them in August, for the last month of the season, you're playing your 3rd string quarterback and a backup kicker, how many do you think have legitimate playoff aspirations at that point?
Maybe the most diehard might say, yeah, Zollers can get us there, but yeah, no, absolutely.
No, but I'm talking about pick a team in the country. If you're telling Ryan Day in August, come Halloween, you've got your 3rd string quarterback and a backup kicker, I think they probably still make the playoff, but I'm only because they're in a league where they only have to play 2 games.
Yeah, and the rest of the roster is really, really good, right? There's only a handful of teams around the country that you can be like, yeah, you're going to lose.
I don't
not
think
just QB1,
anybody in the SEC. I don't think a single team in the SEC could make a playoff playing a 3rd string quarterback and a backup kicker for 4.5 games.
I think maybe it's recency
I guess it would depend on where it fell on the schedule. But
also maybe recency bias, but I'd probably give Ole Miss a puncher's chance because Lane has been excellent calling plays this season, and he's been doing it with a D2 transfer. So
he has played his backup quarterback most of the year. That's fair.
Yeah. So I'd give him a puncher's chance. I think maybe I would get him, and I was very close to this situation. So maybe again, a little recency bias, but I think I'd give Alabama a puncher's chance just because they like all 3 of the quarterbacks that they have in that room right now. And they have clearly figured out some things offensively this season that they couldn't figure out last season. So again, puncher's chance.
Who is Alabama's 3rd string quarterback?
Austin Mack, who originally committed to that staff in Washington and then transferred to Alabama when DeBoer got the job. So he's a guy that knows that system. That's why I think I would give them a puncher's chance.
So John had said Ohio State won a national championship with the 3rd string quarterback. I understand that. Cardell Jones was an NFL quarterback. Those guys don't stick around anywhere to be 3rd stringers anymore. That's my point. Your 3rd stringer is a guy that also it's all different now.
And that was a totally different era of college football when these guys could not freely transfer, to your point about the 3rd string guy hanging around. That was that totally different world. Totally different world.
I mean, look, let's just say this out of the gate, right? Not only do 3rd string quarterbacks not exist, I think there's probably a pretty good chance if Matt Zollers comes out and plays well, Eli Drinkwitz got to go find a backup in the portal because Bo Perbula's not hanging around to be a backup. This is what quarterback is now. You can only really count on one being back.
It's very much a what can you do for me right now type of sport because of the freedom of the portal, because of NIL and this and that. And because there's so many different schools out there, like kids are going to go where they know they can play or at least get the opportunity to play. Now, I don't know how exactly
at that position.
100%. And I don't like if Zollers plays well the rest of this season, like how is Drink going to watch that line if for no other reason than to just maintain depth in his quarterback room, right? Like that is going to be like they had to go out and go find Brett Brown and bring him back to the roster just to have some depth in the room this year. So that's going to be a very interesting situation to follow over the next month.
Especially because, and this is the part that not enough people who do what we do will talk about, but it needs to be talked about because it's absolutely a factor. It is very well publicized that Missouri spent a lot of money to bring Beau Pribula here. And by no means am I trying to chase that kid off. And I want to stress, like I did all night on Saturday, I feel terrible for him that he got hurt. You never want to see somebody's season end that way. But if Matt Zollers goes out and plays well, there is a limit to how much money you can spend on a backup quarterback or a guy that you don't know is going to win the job because it limits what you have for the rest of the roster. And Missouri's going to have a lot of holes to fill on this roster, like it or not.
Yeah. And it's also, I think that should Zollers play well and the quarterback room becomes interesting and in flux just because like, will Beau leave? Sam Horn's probably going to go play baseball. What does that mean for incoming guys? Like this is going to sound really corny, but like Mizzou's culture and like the program, like the actual foundation of the program that Drink has built, like that's going to be pretty crucially important for guys wanting to come in. If Zollers balls out and everybody knows he's QB1, like it's really hard to bring in talented guys to be like, hey, like you're going to be QB2 or we're going to give you a shot, but this is probably our guy. Like that is going to be such a difficult line to walk.
I mean, the last couple times Missouri had to do it, they took a kid from Southern Miss named Jack Abraham who threw back-to-back interceptions at Kansas State. And then they took Drew Pine, who, God love him, found a way to beat Oklahoma. But like you saw Drew Pine in person last year, that was not an SEC starting quarterback. He's at Bowling Green now. So, and look, all the comments are about Zollers. And Scott Fitz did say something that I think is important. We're not crowning this kid right now. Like, he played a quarter and a half, and he played it pretty well. But while he got thrown into a situation he didn't expect to be in, he also got thrown into a situation that Vanderbilt had absolutely no expectation they were going to see him. So that matters.
This was the point I was trying to make Saturday on the live show, and my brain was so scrambled that I don't know if I made it clearly enough. But like, Zollers had only played 43 total snaps before Saturday night, and then he played 47 on Saturday. And so Vanderbilt very clearly was preparing for Beau. And when Beau went down, Zollers came in, and there were a couple of plays where, what do you do when an inexperienced quarterback gets behind center? You heat him up. You try to see if he can handle pressure. And Zollers may not have handled pressure expertly, but he handled it well enough that Vanderbilt kind of had to back off and play a little bit more of a vanilla defense the rest of the way, which I think is what allowed him to kind of be a little bit more of a drop back, I don't want to say statue, but kind of a drop back statue type passer for the rest of the game. And I think that helped him. Like the fact that he didn't have a lot of pressure in his face every single snap allowed him to read the field, allowed him to make some throws. There were some throws that were kind of high. He threw a couple times into double coverage, and it's just like, oh, okay, he's a freshman. Right. But then we can't deny the fact that arm is live, and he had a few throws in that game that made me go, okay, well, what do we got going on here, right? So I think there's a lot of good, and like a story I have coming out tomorrow is kind of breaking down exactly what we've seen from Zollers so far this season. Obviously, a lot of that's going to be in the Vanderbilt game and him playing, almost 50 snaps worth in that game. But like, there's a lot of good, I think, in this kid. And what's going to be interesting is now, like, Mizzou's got 2 weeks to get him and the offense ready for that Texas A&M game. And so, how are you able to marry his strengths with the rest of the offense? How are you able to marry what he can do with the other skill guys? Like what, because I think I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for a fact, there are football people that are smarter than me that can watch the second half of that game and tell me exactly, maybe a little bit more in depth here, but like, it did not seem like they really cracked open the playbook for this kid when he stepped into the game, but they were able to do enough for him to be comfortable enough that they were able to move the ball pretty well for the most part. And so can you crack open the playbook a little bit more? Can you continue to add small things here and there? And like, yeah, you've got 2 weeks to prepare, but like the best teacher is live action, right? So we really we think we know a lot about this kid. We really don't know a ton. We're going to learn a lot when he steps on the field in 2 weeks and plays that Texas A&M defense. Because one, that A&M defense is full of dudes. Like it is that's closer to Auburn's defense with a pretty good secondary behind them. And so that's going to be a wicked test. But then also like they haven't seen a ton of this kid either. So like there could be some fun surprises and wrinkles there. That game is going to be really, really intriguing just in terms of what Mizzou does with Zollers and then also what A&M tries to do to counter things that a lot of us haven't really seen yet.
I do think it's worth saying too that this is like the benefits the wrong word, but a result of the Sam Horn injury early on is that this is not a true freshman who's been sitting on the practice field running scout team all year. Like he's been running Missouri's offense. They've been preparing him for exactly what happened Saturday. They have known for 8 weeks now, there is a chance you're the guy. So he is getting, like I saw a lot of, you can't run a zone read because he hasn't gotten reps with those guys. I promise he has gotten a ton of reps in practice with Jamal Roberts. He is the second string quarterback and Jamal Roberts is the second string running back. I promise it has happened plenty. He's gotten reps with Ahmad Hardy. He's gotten reps with Coleman and those guys. If he hasn't, then Eli Drinkwitz and Kirby Moore have not been doing their jobs for the last 2 months.
Yeah, like he's been QB2 since the second quarter of the Central
August
Arkansas
28th.
game? Yeah, like he's absolutely been preparing for this.
He's been Missouri's backup quarterback longer than Cody has been at Power Mizzou. So
that should tell you everything you guys need to know. So yeah, like he's been a heartbeat away from the presidency for 8 weeks now. So it's, hey, like time to shine, kid. Go show them what you got. And there's, that game is going to be very interesting. But these 2 weeks, I think, in preparation for that are going to be crucial for Matt Zollers and for Mizzou and just the offense as a whole.
I kind of like that it's against. I saw somebody had said it's too bad it's against A&M. I kind of like that it's against A&M. Nobody expects you to do anything in this game. Like, I think it would be worse if it's Mississippi State in 2 weeks and it's like, hey, kid, don't screw this one up. A&M, it's like they're number 3 in the country. Nobody's coming close to them. Just, I don't know, go have fun, see what you can do. If you get beat, you get beat. Everybody expects you to get beat.
Yeah, that A&M team is nasty. They clearly have. I know. I kind of said this earlier, but they were a funny team to watch from afar because it just seemed like they played up and down to their competition, and then they went and just absolutely throttled LSU. Like there's a lot of dudes on that team. They can win with defense. They can win with offense. But obviously, like them playing with defense and just the dudes that they've got rushing the passer, like they've got some nasty guys that are going to test Zollers up front. They've got a pretty good secondary. They've got speed all over the field, offense and defense. Like that is like, talk about baptism by fire. Like we are going to learn a lot about Matt Zollers on November
8th. I want to address this because I've seen Hayden ask in the chat 2 or 3 times. Zollers is playing A&M. He is playing. Realistically, he's playing the rest of the regular season. A report came out on Sunday from Matt Zollers, who does a very good job. That it basically said it's not impossible that Prbula could come back in the regular season. And I checked with somebody, and the answer was, I mean, I guess, but the best thing I could find about the injury we were told Bo Prbula has, which is a dislocated ankle without a fracture, which, first of all, I read is extremely rare. Second of all, seems unbelievably painful. They went down, and I don't know if you saw this on the rewatch, but they went down to Chris Budden on the sideline, proud Mizzou alum Chris Budden, and she said, when he rode off on the cart, like he wasn't like in agony. He didn't appear to be in an unbelievable. He must be the toughest dude ever because dislocated ankle, man. Like I'm probably crying.
I'm at least cussing up a storm, and my mom would probably put soap in my mouth afterwards. That's ankle dislocation. I mean, like you guys can Google it. Like ankle dislocation, whether there's broken bones or not. Like that is usually at least a 6-week recovery. Now I know modern medicine has totally fast tracked things and people can come back from ACL tears in a week and a half, but like it's just different. Like, cause not only are you waiting for it to heal, then you have to learn how to trust it again. And then, on top of that, how fast can you move? Can you move fast enough to handle a Division I football game? Like there's just, I would be stunned if Bo came back and played at all this season, like absolutely stunned. So hop on the Zollers train. That's where we're riding.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would be shocking if we see Bo on the football field again this year. Ron Davis, just to liven the mood, I got engaged on Saturday. Shout out to Emma, Ron, I got to be, I've known Ron for a while. I got to be honest, man. I would question your fiance watching our post-game shows. Like there might need to be some further discussion between you guys about whether this is really how she wants to spend her Saturday nights. But in all seriousness, congratulations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations, Ron. But also like, we will never tell you guys how to fan. So like, if you want to hang out with us every Saturday, Monday, and hang out with Gabe every Wednesday or Thursday, whenever he gets the opponent podcast up, the PN and the AM, like all that stuff, like, please come along.
Ron has been around, been here all year, and he's given us super chat. So Ron, like, shoot me a message during the A&M game, and I will remember to give Emma a shout out during State of the Tigers at some point on that Saturday evening. That really kind of threw. I had this big plan. I knew what we were going to talk about. Now I have no idea what we were going to talk about other than Ron's wedding coming up. But Billy, let's go ahead because we are going to get Drew in here in the next 15 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and hit questions to make sure we take care of the questions in the chat from a football perspective. Okay, so this is a decent question. STLMIZ asked if we saw what they were talking about regarding Marquise Johnson's body language, because you and I were kind of talking about. I was so busy during the game doing a million things. I didn't really notice it. You weren't watching the broadcast. When you went back and watched the broadcast, did you really see much of anything?
No, like there were a couple of times, there were a couple of times where Zollers threw deep to Marquise Johnson, right? Because you're going to throw the fast guy as he runs down the field. And a lot of those throws were missed. Like there was one where Vanderbilt put 7 dudes on the line, sent everybody. So Zollers had to react quickly. He threw high to Marquise. There were a couple of times where he tried to throw that lefty fly route deep down the field and just they couldn't connect on it. And the TV caught a couple of those times where Marquise just kind of dropped his head, and that was it. Like that was the extent of the body language I saw on the rewatch, and there wasn't anything like outlandish watching it live. So I mean, if that's what people are upset about, let it go. But that's as bad as it got.
Right. Like I would think if it was a problem, his playing time would be reduced. That's an Eli Drinkwitz problem to deal with. If he keeps putting him on the field, and Tiercel says it was in the fourth quarter. I did notice, there was one play, and you posted it in your rewatch. I can't remember it was third or fourth quarter. I think it was third quarter where, Zollers he threw it high. He missed it. And, there was a little bit of the arms in the air. It didn't strike me as all that. It was nothing like the end of the Alabama game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what has jogged people's memory. And so like now they're kind of a little vigilant watching Marquise on the field. And like, I haven't seen anything in the couple of games since the Alabama game that it compares to the way he reacted at the end of the Alabama game. So until I see maybe that again, I'm going to kind of shrug it off for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, if Drink he played, I don't know, 50 snaps or something like that on 59 snaps, something like that on Saturday. So if he's out there that much, tells me the coach doesn't really have a problem with it. So coach doesn't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it is kind of where I fall on that. Will you guys ask Drink why he described himself as not doing a good enough job? I don't have to ask him. I can answer that question, Mark. They lost the game. That's what he's going to say. Like, does it really mean anything? Not really. I mean, I covered Gary Pinkel, and every game he lost in his entire career, that's my job. I'm the head football coach. That's my responsibility to get that fixed. Always. Like, Gary, your quarterback threw 9 interceptions. What happened? That's my job as the head football coach at the University of Missouri. That's what they say.
Yeah,
even if it's not true, that's what they say.
Yeah. I mean, most coaches, I mean, you got to remember, like, these guys are leaders, right? And so, like, really good leaders traditionally do not throw, their subordinates under the bus. Like, they don't blame Kirby for play calling. They don't blame the players for misexecution. Like, yes, Drink will allude to that in the post game, and he'll allude to that when we talk to him Tuesdays after he's able to watch the film a little bit. So, like, he will point to those things, but at the end of the day, he will always wear the blame himself. I don't know, like, question for the chat, and you guys can chime in with your answers. Would you rather Drink, who claims blame for everything that goes wrong, or would you? There are other coaches out there. I'm not going to name names because I don't listen to their press conferences all the time, but I see the clips, who like to throw their players under the bus. Like, which coach would you prefer be in charge of your favorite football team?
And look, if you are a good leader, and I don't remember the exact quote, but a couple of weeks ago, Drink did basically say, look, I get paid a lot of money. Like, and that's part of it. I have a friend who I remember after he got to know Pinkel's staff pretty well, and after some loss or something, he happened to be talking to Gary and basically said, "Man, fans are really being too hard on you." And Gary said, "That's why I make $2.5 million." I mean, that's what it is. That's part of it. Is you have to put, like, and I don't want to in any way. I do. By the way, I'm not making $9.25 million this year. But, like, if Cody goes to a game and he does something that, offends somebody at Missouri or whatever, or is in the press box drunk acting like an idiot, that's my fault, man. This is me. I empower Mizzou, that I have to take responsibility for that. Like, and so Cody, please don't show up drunk at the next game is what I'm saying. But
I don't think you have to worry about that.
You get my point. When you're in charge, it is your fault. Whether it's your fault or not, it is always your fault.
How many times
is part of being in charge?
How many times do we have to reference the Mad Men line? That's what the money is for. Like, it just that's the name of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mark follows up, and I agree with this. He says, I'm totally fine with not throwing kids under the bus, but things at this level have changed the dynamic. And we're talking about pay for play. And if Bo makes $1 million, then he can take a hit. I agree, but not from his head coach. And, like, I'm never going to make it personal, but I have tried to make a conscious. I mean, I did it with Robbie Meyer on Saturday night. I said, look, man, this is your job. Like, you have to make that kick. Bo didn't play quarterback well enough this weekend. I think that's fair to say. When he was healthy, Missouri needed him to be better to win the game. I have no problem saying that. His head coach doesn't need to say it. I can do it because that's whatever. And then if I do it and Bo wants to get mad at me, he can do that. That's fine. But there's a difference, I think, between us criticizing, and frankly, I'm kind of fine with most fans' criticism these days because they do make a lot of money. Now, there's a line that shouldn't be crossed, that is often crossed. But if you want to critique play because these kids are making more money than most of us are, I absolutely have no problem with that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and the point that I was going to add too, as well, is, like, we started this show early because we want to make sure that we watch vast majority of the Chiefs game tonight. When have we ever heard Andy Reid, for example, throw Patrick Mahomes under the bus after a bad game, or throw Travis Kelce under the bus after a sideline outburst? Like, coaches at any level don't do that. Now, when it comes to the college game, like, I think we should be freely and more willing, and you and I both are, about saying, hey, the players screwed up, right? Like, when it comes to the execution of certain plays, whether it's the Alabama game, the Auburn game, this past game against Vanderbilt, like, the players screwed up. Like, we need to be okay saying that. Like, and it's a lot of Mizzou fans love to criticize the play calling. A lot of times, or at least more often than not, it is the execution. It's okay to say, hey, the offensive line whiffed on blocks. It's okay to say, hey, Bo missed X, Y, and Z throws. It's okay to say, hey, Zollers missed X, Y, and Z throws when he was on the field on Saturday. Like, it's okay to blame the players, to the point. Like, these guys make a lot of money. They can take it, right? Like, that's part of the professionalization of college football a little bit. Like, that's, like, again, that's what the money is for. Like, if you got to be able to deliver, and if you don't, you're going to get criticized.
And we had, so often, like, I've probably gotten 500 messages since Saturday night. We got out-coached. Coaching. Here's how we judge coaching. We judge coaching by 3 hours on Saturday. What plays did you call and did your team play well? That's it. You know how much of Eli Drinkwitz's job that is? Like maybe 10%. We never see 90% of what his job is. And I remember when when it really crystallized for me was the Royals run in 2014-15, which God was 10 years ago now. But like everybody I knew like couldn't stand Ned Yost because he took the pitcher out too soon, or he did this, or he kept trotting this guy out there that's hitting 192, whatever. And then the more as that team started to make its run and the guys started to talk, you read more and more stories that were like, we would go to the wall for this guy because he will go to the wall for us because he stands up there and answers all your stupid questions and says it's his fault. And he builds us up every day. 90% of coaching is stuff we never see. And I think it's even more true when the kids you're coaching are 18 to 22 years old and still to some degree are kids. And I know they are making money, but like I was an idiot when I was in college. A lot of these kids are still kind of idiots, so it's fine for the guy that's making 9 million to stand up there and take the bullets for him. It's up to message boards and idiots on YouTube to say, yo, this guy didn't play well. It's not up to the coach. Thoughts on if the Prbula injury was a dirty play? I can't tell. I
didn't
can
think
understand people saying yes.
I didn't think it was. I kind of thought it was an unfortunate play, but I thought it was more just kind of a bang bang football play. Cause like if you go and rewatch the play, Singh sheds a double block with both, I think it was Trost and Pigler. Like they both doubled him to start. He shed them, and he shed them by falling down, and he just so happened to fall down and find Bo's ankle. Like that's
if you are seeing in that position that's frozen on the screen right now, he is not on the ground. You have to there's nothing else Singh can't tackle him from there, right? Now, if he twists it, I know Missouri fans think he twisted it. Maybe he did. I don't know. But he has to hold on to Bo there because otherwise, if he lets Bo go, for all he knows, Bo's going to go score. So while he's clinging on to him, what happened was two guys hit Bo high and bent his body at a really weird angle. I'm not saying I know for sure it wasn't a dirty play, but I also don't really see anything there that tells me it was.
Yeah. And the other thing too is a large reason why the ankle was dislocated was because Bo got rolled back over the top. Like people want to go at Singh for that play, but I think it was Mark Davis and Brian Longwell that came and doubled him over that direction.
That's where the problem happened when he got hit high.
Yeah. Like we've seen players grab other opponents' ankles all the time. Like Tercel, it's not his job to let him go.
He shouldn't let go.
Yeah, he wants to tackle him to save a potential touchdown. So I think I don't know that's whatever he did underneath the pile, I'm not sure that we're ever going to know what happened underneath the pile. But to me, the more aggressive part of the tackle was when Davis and Longwell, because Capers wraps him up, Singh grabs his ankle, and then Davis and Longwell, to keep him away from the end zone, basically push him over the other way. And then the combination of everything is what results in the ankle fall. See, you're seeing this here. They come in and push him over his ankle. He gets bent over backwards. It's a really unfortunate play. I'm not sure based on everything that we saw that it was a quote unquote dirty play.
Right. If he rolled with Bo's ankle in his hands, sure.
Yeah. It's not to the wrestling fans out there. It's not like he's leg lacing Bo Prbula.
He still is mostly face down there. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Look, again, I'm not saying without question it isn't. I don't know. And also, if you think it is, we're not going to convince you otherwise.
Yeah, you're gonna think what you're gonna think, and that's fine. Nobody's gonna tell you how to fan. But based on what I saw, and it sounds like from what you saw, I don't know that it was a dirty play.
Yeah, certainly unfortunate. Sucks for Bo. You don't want to see anybody's season end that way. I don't think it was intentional. Maybe it was. I don't know. Again, so we've got a lot of questions about this. So let's just finish up with this, the Drinkwitz thing. I don't think it's going to happen during the season. I don't think we're going to see an extension during the season. From what I can gather, Drink kind of, I think, wants to deal with that after the year. And truthfully, I don't know. Maybe he wants to talk to these other teams. Because, I was kind of thinking today, when's Eli Drinkwitz's stock ever going to be higher than it is right now? When's he going to have more leverage than he has right now?
When more Power 4 jobs come open?
Well, in 3 weeks, right? But I mean, I'm talking about after this year, right?
Yeah, no, that's
there is a chance that Eli's stock is as high as it's ever going to be over the next 6 weeks.
You want to see
take advantage of that.
You want to see his stock skyrocket? Watch if Mizzou beats A&M.
Right.
To the moon.
But I mean, as all these schools are starting to look for coaches, he has won. What are we at? 6 this year. He's won 27 games in 3 years. He's probably getting to at least 30 by the end of this season, I would think, or pretty close to 30 in 3 years. And I know, when it comes to sports, look, this is emotion. It is ruled by emotion. You guys want this dude to come out tomorrow and say, I love you and I'm signing to stay here. I get it. A little over about a year and a half ago, I had options for where I was going to work. And I talked to everybody and I listened to every offer. And I don't blame him if that's what he does. If it's not, if he says, I know where I want to be and he signs an extension tomorrow, that's awesome for Missouri and for you guys. And that's the choice he wants to make. That's great. But he may never have another opportunity like he has over the next 6 weeks. And if he wants to leverage it to the fullest extent he can, I don't hold it against him at all.
Yeah. Whether that means leveraging it to get another pay raise out of Mizzou or leveraging it to get a new job. That's just smart agent work. That's using all the resources that are available to you to get the most of whatever it is you want, whether you want to stay at Mizzou and just get a bigger paycheck, or if you want to go somewhere else for whatever that reason might be.
Right. And it doesn't even necessarily mean the most amount of money, right? It may just mean, hey, I need another couple years, or hey, I need a little more for my assistants, or hey, I need more cushions on the chairs in the training facility, whatever that might be.
Yeah. It could be, I need more NIL funds. I need a little bit more money to keep this staff intact because I believe that this is, we can do it with these guys. You kind of wait for all the chips to be on the table before you ultimately play your hand.
Right. And this is so I think over the weekend, look, I'm not going to say it changed, but what got interesting is, in all likelihood, Eli Drinkwitz's season is over on November 29th now. The meaningful part of the season. That's probably not true of Lane Kiffin. If Missouri manages to, the best part about being 4-0 is that it would actually make it harder to hire Eli Drinkwitz because you'd have to wait until at least December 20th. Because if he gets in the playoff, I don't think anybody's pulling a Brian Kelly and leaving the team before the playoff.
I think, and I think that makes it interesting for this entire coaching cycle, right? Because you've got Penn State, you're going to have LSU, you're going to have Florida, you are going to have Arkansas, potentially Auburn, potentially Florida State, reading the tea leaves there, but also UCLA, Virginia Tech, a lot of Power 4 coaching jobs. Right. And who knows?
Dominoes could mean Ole Miss, could mean South Carolina, could mean plenty of places.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of coaching movement this hiring cycle. And what that means for Drink, I'm not sure exactly that we're going to know until probably December. And even then, we may not even know until January because a lot of the hot candidates, like a Lane Kiffin, is they could be playing well into January, So it's going to be a very interesting hiring cycle for a number of different reasons.
Do you think it is safe to say, if Missouri keeps Drink through this cycle, that he's here for a long time? Or is that it's probably premature because we don't know what might happen next year, right? But
that's a good question. I mean, It's hard because you don't know what's going through his mind, right? Like, does he feel like he needs to go somewhere else if he wants to ultimately win big? Does he think that they can reload the roster for next season and potentially do it here at Mizzou? I'd like to think with as much movement as we're seeing, especially at the Power 4 level, that like, when's the last time we're going to have all of these different big jobs available in the same offseason? Right. I don't know. But I think it's obviously a good thing for Mizzou long term if they can keep him from all of these openings for sure.
Right. And that's kind of my thought. His name is on all of these lists. It's on all of them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get offered any of them. But if Eli Drinkwitz wants to leave Missouri, he probably can do so this year, which is kind of my point, that if he doesn't leave Missouri, I think we might not have to worry about this for a while.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, and that's definitely something worth considering.
Yeah. So Aiden was asking if I have a hot board. Look, I've got some names that I do not have any part of a story written and will not spend my time doing it until maybe I find out. If and when I find out, hey, you probably should, then cool. But I'm not going to go put together, like, I had a Kim Anderson hot board for literally well over a year. Like there comes a time when I might need to do it, but I don't feel like I'm at that point yet. So I know we've had Drew in the waiting room. We're trying to get to basketball. I'm a huge Marcus Mariota fan, so I want to be able to watch Monday Night Football. So if we can pop Drew on here and let him and Cody virtually shake hands, and then we'll let Cody go.
It's hoop season, and it may be for sure hoop season in about a couple weeks if Missouri can't take care of A&M. Then we'll like fully pivot to winter sports.
Sure. But don't y'all do y'all ever wish you could just be a fired head football coach? I mean, dang.
Yes. Cody actually texted me that earlier today.
Every day of my life. Like, I want to be a fired college football coach when I grow up.
Here's the problem. To be a fired football coach, you have to, like, Eli Drinkwitz has been doing this for like 23 years or something like that. I just want the fired part. I don't want the 23 years of work that lead up to it.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
You have to be good enough to get the job to get fired from, to make the millions of dollars to not coach. And like, that's like, I'm pretty good at like NCAA, like college football, that video game. I don't know if I could pull that off in real life.
I just want to tag in for somebody who's been a good coach for 15 years and then get the buyout.
Exactly.
All right, Cody, appreciate you, man. We'll let you run, and we'll talk a little Mizzou basketball here for the last 15 minutes or so. Want to remind you guys that we are brought to you by James Carlton at State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, Missouri. You can get in touch with James at carltoninsurance.net. You can give him a call at 314-961-4800. Please do that. Mention you heard about him on Power Mizzou, and that does good things for us. I don't know exactly what, but I feel like good things. So, Drew, Missouri played basketball, and I thought looked pretty good doing it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I want to give myself some credit here. I predicted Missouri was going to win this game 90-80. They ended up winning it 100-91. I thought, just a little bit more defense was going to be played, but I'm pretty proud to get the margin that close, especially in preseason. Yeah,
right. 100 points with 6 made threes. Is that going to be like a feature of this team?
We'll see, right? Like, I don't want to put.
I'm not saying 6 made threes being a feature, but
Right, but 100 points and if for it to be that high scoring without the threes, I think was more a product of it just being an exhibition. We talked to Jerome Tang, and he said like we had set rotations, we weren't treating it like a normal game, and so there were probably players who got more minutes than they probably deserved that night. But I do think it showed just kind of. This team is going to be capable of scoring in multiple ways, and they're not going to be living and dying by the three as much as they have been in years past.
I think they shot about 56% from the field and went to the free throw line like 34 times, so that's how you get to 100 with 6 threes. Give me I don't care if it's a player, a thing, whatever. Give me one or two that was better than you expected it to be.
Ooh, okay. I think first we got to talk about Honor Boateng, right? Like I thought he had a breakout performance. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting since he got here, just to see like anything encouraging from him, right? And
beyond the saxophone, yeah.
But beyond the saxophone, and like just anything that showed he could live up to the hype of being like a borderline 5-star recruit in his class, because we didn't see it last year. I saw flashes of it in high school, but even in practice, I was like, man, I don't know how he fits in on this team. And we finally saw it against Kansas State. Really put his strength to good use. He got to the rim a ton. He knocked down a 3-pointer. And I thought he was just everywhere defensively. He's pulling down rebounds. And if that's like legit, if he can actually contribute to the team, that's a huge win for Dennis Gates, because I think this team's a little bit short on wings, and if Honor Boateng can fill in and give you positive minutes at that spot, that's massive for the Tigers.
I didn't realize until the next day, 15 points on 5 shots.
Yeah.
That seems good.
Really good. 7 free throws too. Like, that's what I mean by kind of putting his strength to use. He got to the rim a ton. And he's just so strong, Gabe. Like,
yeah,
guys are going to bounce off of him when he gets downhill.
Can we, I'm sure Dennis would love to do this. Can you take that Anthony Robinson and just bottle it and give it to him about 25 more times this year? Because we saw that Anthony Robinson sometimes last year.
Yep.
We didn't see it, but like, he was the best player on the floor.
Yeah. Easily.
And I would like to see that more.
I think Anthony Robinson would like to see that more too. And coming into this year, Dennis Gates even said, like, Ant Robinson and Mark Mitchell have to lead us in minutes if we're going to go where we want to go. And that just comes down to Ant Robinson staying out of foul trouble. He picked up 2 in the first half, but they were at least a couple of minutes apart.
They were 8 minutes apart. I counted 8 minutes and 1 second apart.
Second one came pretty late in the first half, finished with 3 in 23 minutes. I think you'll take that from Ant Robinson for sure. It's a step forward from what he was doing most of last season. But yeah, like,
but it's also a thing that I'm not going to believe it until we're at bragging rights and he's done it for 9 straight games.
Absolutely. But it was so interesting, Gabe, because like, if you look at the advanced analytics, right, for him, and he's like top 500 across the board on KenPom, and he's top 50 on evanmaya.com. Like, all the advanced stats said, like, he's a star. He's a future NBA player. And then the counting stats tell you, wow, he had to sit out a lot last year because he kept getting into foul trouble, and all of his counting stats are lower than somebody with those advanced stats should have. So that's the biggest thing for him going into this season, is like, he's got to play close to 30 minutes a night, I think.
Yeah. The chat's talking about Sean Phillips. I don't know if we get that out of him every night, but boy, if he's going to put up a double-double in 19 minutes a game, like, this team's going to be really good.
Yeah. So I'll say this, like, Kansas State does not have the biggest front court in the world. I think their starting center was 6'8", 6'9", which means that Sean Phillips has 3 or 4 inches on him, plus all of the verticality, right? But that's the kind of performance you want to see when you get a team like that, is you want him to be especially productive on the boards. And
Drake didn't have anybody very tall either.
Exactly. So yeah, like, really promising start out of Sean Phillips. And like you said, I don't know that we're going to see that out of him every night. And he's another guy who has to cut down on the number of fouls he gets. And he only had 1 against Kansas State, which is a good sign. So, but I think that he's already got the starting center position locked up. Like, it's no question to me.
He's like, if you go in order of confidence, they're starting. I go Mitchell, Robinson, Sean Phillips.
Yeah.
He's third.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about good stuff. Like, what'd you see that you go, well, that needs to be better?
Good question. I would say it's only one game, right? Like, let's not get carried away on this, but I wasn't impressed by Javon Porter, and I wasn't really impressed by Jacob Cruz, to be honest.
I was going to say, I don't want to single out like Javon Porter. It's that position. It's the 6'9", whatever guy that's supposed to be able to shoot a three, and neither one of them played very well.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by either one of them. And I will say this, though, like, one positive is you think about Florida last year and how their bigs like came at you in waves, right? You got Ruben Chinyelu and you got Alex Condon, right, starting, and then you got Thomas Ho. I don't remember.
I think, but
How?
I don't know. Just say it however you want. No,
Thomas Howe, and then you got Micah Hanlogton, right? And like at all times you're getting dogs at the posts, right? Mizzou's got a little bit of that at almost every position, where you start off with Ant Robinson and Sebastian Mack, and then when you're tired of playing them, you bring in 2 6'4" guys in T.O. Barrett and Jaden Stone. And then in the front court, like Honor Boateng is 6'6", and he's the short wing, right? Because then you can bring in a Jacob Cruz or a Javon Porter. And then you got Mark Mitchell, who's 6'9". You got Nick Grandel. By the way, you had Trent Pierce, who's 6'10", and Trent Burns, who's 7'5", not even play. So I really like the size across this team, but like you said, they got to have better minutes out of the tall guys who can shoot, with Jacob Cruz, Javon Porter, and eventually Trent Burns and Trent Pierce. Yeah.
Like Cruz, Porter, and Pierce, I feel like Missouri either needs 2 of them to be pretty good or one of them to be very good this year. And there is not a bigger gulf on this team than what fans think of that trio of players and what I think the coaches think of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, now, to be fair, we did have Jacob Cruz's biggest fan sitting somewhat close behind us at that game on Friday. He was very excited when Cruz shot. But as a general rule, there is not a lot of enthusiasm from Missouri fans about him or Trent Pierce or Javon Porter, I don't think. Missouri doesn't have to hit on all of them, but, like, they got to hit on 1.5 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
I 100% agree with that. Because when you look at who the proven shooters are on this team, it's those 3, right? It's Jacob Cruz making 34% and Trent Pierce making 33%. And you need those guys.
I'm not going to lie, Drew. That sentence made me sad, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, it's Javon Porter and Sebastian Mack at 30%. You got Ant Robinson, who made 40%, but he didn't even take 2 a game. So
Jaden Stone
better. Like, Jaden Stone was really good, I thought, in that game. But you need one of those guys to replace a lot of the threes that Caleb Grill and Tamar Bates made last year. And those are supposed to be your safest bets, and it didn't look great against Kansas State.
Yeah. All right. So, kind of last thing. Who defines this team's ceiling? Like, give me a player. Like, if this guy is this, then it raises this team's ceiling. Okay.
So I'm kind of operating under the premise that Ant Robinson and Mark Mitchell are going to be top 15 guys. And okay. I think that's a fairly safe bet. Ant Robinson's going to be top 20 at least.
Okay.
So my question is, who is the third guy? Because those 2 are going to give you a high floor. You need one more guy to raise the ceiling. And so the 2 I would be looking at is Sebastian Mack, who played fine against Kansas State. I think he'll have better games than that too. And then I also think there might be another level to unlock with Trent Pierce. Like, he took that step forward last year. But there's got to be something more, right? Because if he turns out to be a really good shooter, or if he can become a plus defender and become like a 3-and-D forward, like, that's a player that a lot of teams in this league don't have. So those would be the two main guys where if they can be consistent, positive contributors in the starting lineup, I think it raises Mizzou's ceiling and potentially pushes them toward like a top 4 seed in the conference.
Pierce was my first answer because, like, I don't know if they're NBA players, but Ant and Mark are pros, right? And this staff has thought for 3 years that Trent Pierce is a pro. If he plays like a pro, that changes what I think of this team.
Yeah.
And then my other guy was the first guy you talked about. If Honor Boateng is the guy he was coming out of high school, that changes what I think about this roster.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because I think he was a guy going into that exhibition where, like, I don't know, could he maybe be the 9th or 10th guy in the rotation? And coming out of that, I think, I don't know, can he start? Can he be the first guy off the bench?
Yeah, can he make it into the top 8? And it's funny because the day before this scrimmage, I dropped my column talking about here's kind of how I see the projection. And I had a section just where I just said, one of these guys will probably break out. I just don't know who. And Honor Boateng was in there. So
yeah,
we'll see.
You last thing before, so next week we're probably going to move the show to Tuesday because Missouri plays on Monday night.
Right.
Drew will be there in Washington, D.C. Drew, are you looking forward to the 2,700 seat arena?
Among other things, sure.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. The good thing about a 2,700 seat stadium, I don't think there's going to be a bad seat in the house.
Right. Like you should be closer to the floor than you have been at pretty much any other Missouri game.
Exactly. So I don't know where they'll have me, but I'll be in there.
We still don't know if it's on TV. Right.
I was told they believe it'll be on TV. Just don't know what channel yet. But that was what I was told. We believe it'll be on TV. Just heard multiple channels, not sure which one.
There you go, y'all. Breaking news. They believe Missouri and Howard will be on TV next week. So, look, appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Hope we hit on most of your questions. Wanted to get both sports in tonight. I know there's a lot of hangover from Saturday football-wise, but basketball season officially getting underway, and Drew will be in D.C. next Monday. We'll have full coverage of that one. Like I said, probably bump the show back to Tuesday after football media day and after we talk to Eli Drinkwitz and get some updates and all that. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Freeway Jared, thanks for the super chat on the way out the door. Always appreciate you hanging out. Thanks to James Carlton, State Farm Insurance. Once again, 314-961-4800. Check it out. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Join us over at Power Mizzou. And I don't know, we'll talk to you a different time.